We are throwing it back to the blockbuster days, and we're looking at some blockbuster trades the Broncos could make in the 2024 NFL Draft. Welcome on into the Broncos Breakdown. Matthew Peterson here with 3 trade ideas that may not happen, but you know what? It's the offseason. Why not live on the wild side for a day? So here is the first trade idea I came up with. The Broncos and the Patriots strike a deal where Denver jumps up from pick number 12 to pick number 3, and in exchange for New England falling back 9 spots, the Broncos give up their first and second round pick next year and Jerry Jeudy. Now, I know that's a steep price, but that is a little bit less than what the 49ers gave up to go from 12 to 3 to get Trey Lance, and Jayden Daniels is a much higher regarded prospect coming into this year's draft than Trey Lance was that year. So the Patriots know that they can charge an arm and a leg for the 3rd overall pick, and honestly, that might not even be enough. But let's talk about Jayden Daniels, because this would be a trade to get Jayden Daniels. Maybe Drake May if the Commanders go Daniels at 2, but I think we're going to see it go Caleb Williams, Drake May in that order, and Jayden Daniels be the 3rd quarterback off the board. So we can, bicker about which one to go for, but I think in all likelihood it would be Jayden Daniels. Ultimately, this is a big-time trade for the Broncos to pull off, right? And I think this would be not a panic move, but I think panic may be starting to set in a little bit for Sean Payton, because you think about he's had a long career in New Orleans with just Drew Brees as his quarterback, and then he goes to Denver in his first season without Drew Brees as his quarterback, and he learns how tough life was without his dream quarterback. So if Sean Payton comes out of the combine next week with his heart set on Jayden Daniels, and the Patriots come out thinking, we like Jayden Daniels, but we don't love him for the 3rd overall pick, and in fact, we'd be willing to shop that 3rd overall pick with a new head coach and a new GM and just stockpile picks and move back a little bit, and maybe we attack the quarterback position in 2025 and address other needs in 2024. I think it takes 2 to trade, and I'm not sure if the Patriots would be interested in trading back, but if there is one team of the top 3 to move back, I do think it would be New England. I fully expect the Bears to go Caleb Williams at number 1, so I won't even try for the 1st overall pick, and I believe the Commanders are going to go with a quarterback at number 2, but the Patriots, maybe they're a little bit more on the fence. Now, a part of this deal is giving up Jerry Jeudy, and this is in lieu of giving up an additional 1st-round pick. That way, Denver only gives up 1 future first, and I'm not sure if the Patriots would agree to Jeudy over a pick, but New England's got the worst wide receiver unit in the National Football League. So whoever's quarterback in that team in 2024, Jerry Jeudy would be a friendly face to throw to instead of having a bunch of rookies out there all learning the position together. I do believe a Jerry Jeudy trade is on the table. It's been on the table for quite some time now. Ultimately, Denver held on to him through the trade deadline. That might be a move they look back at and regret, since ultimately they didn't go on that postseason push. They were a run they were hoping to accomplish, and what they were looking for last offseason, they're not going to get this offseason, because Jerry Jeudy is now 1 year older, but more importantly, 1 less year on his rookie contract. Just that fully guaranteed $12.9 million 5th year for 2024, which means a team would not have 2 years of control on him before he hits free agency. But I think we could see Jerry Jeudy ultimately get moved, whether it's in a move to move up in the draft or just to get some more draft compensation. Now, let me know. Would you include Jerry Jeudy to move up in the draft? 4 years so far in Denver, and I don't think after 4 years anyone can confidently say Judy's about to turn a corner and live up to that 15th overall pick expectations and become a clear-cut wide receiver 1. He might be able to do that somewhere else, but it doesn't feel like it's going to happen in Denver. So if Jerry Jeudy is ultimately the piece standing in the way of Denver moving up and getting a star quarterback like Jayden Daniels, which I would like to see them do, but then again, it takes 2 to trade, so Broncos might not have anyone picking up on the other side. I would include Jerry Jeudy in a trade to get that future franchise QB. Moving on to trade idea number 2. This one's a little bit different. We are calling the Tennessee Titans, who have a new head coach and now a second-year GM, and we're swapping the 12th and the 7th overall pick. And for the Tennessee Titans moving back 5 spots, the Broncos toss in this year's 5th round pick. They have 2 and a 2025 3rd round pick to make up for the Titans moving back 5 spots. Now, why are we making a trade with the Titans? This has not been widely discussed. Well, it might be because they don't want to risk losing out on J.J. McCarthy, who has been the hottest name this NFL draft offseason, right? Everyone's talking about how J.J. McCarthy is the ultimate riser and a guy that went from having no chance of going in the first round, it appeared just a few months ago, might be going top 10. NFL.com's Daniel Jeremiah came out with a new mock draft, and he's one of my favorite NFL draft insiders. And in his mock draft, he had J.J. McCarthy go 8th overall to the Falcons. So let's say Sean Payton and company come out of the combine knowing, all right, we're not going to get Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jayden Daniels because none of the top 3 teams want to trade down with us. However, the Titans have Will Levis. They don't need a quarterback. And there's a lot of this is the best offensive lineman draft we have seen in a while. So maybe Tennessee is willing to move back a couple of spots, still get a premier offensive lineman to protect Will Levis, and we get to jump a team like the Falcons, who are definitely in the market for a new starting quarterback. This way, Sean Payton gets his number 1 guy that he can realistically get his hands on, and he doesn't have to sit and sweat out a very nervous and long, painstaking draft to see whether or not J.J. McCarthy falls to him at pick number 12. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this move, but I can also understand that, I'm not the one calling the shots. This is a Sean Payton-led offseason. This is a Sean Payton-led team, and Sean Payton said, we don't care where other people think quarterbacks are supposed to go. If we like a guy, we're going to go get him. So you may not feel like J.J. McCarthy is worthy of a top 10 pick, and maybe this is all an NFL media circus, which happens every single offseason, where we build up quarterbacks for intrigue, and then the draft rolls around, and we laugh at those that said Will Levis was going to go 1st overall when he didn't even go round 1 last year. So Payton will ultimately get his guy. And if he thinks J.J. McCarthy is his guy, don't be surprised if he moves up even a couple of spots to guarantee he secures a quarterback he thinks could be the next franchise QB for the Broncos. Before we get on to the next trade idea, I do want to fill you guys in on an awesome sponsor we have, which is Prize Picks. If you're unfamiliar with Prize Picks, let me catch you up to speed. And if you do know Prize Picks, we have an awesome deal today. But Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Now, what does that mean in English? It means you pick 2 to 6 players. Check. Choose more or less on their projected stats. Check. Now, there's no more football being played. We're on an NBA All-Star break wrapping up soon. But we do have baseball right around the corner. So come ride with me on my season-long stat projections. We all know baseball can get a bit dry throughout the summer at stretches. But if you have a season-long stat projection, well, all of a sudden, you got some intrigue and some interest in the dog days of the summer. So here are my selections. You take a closer look at them. I'm taking the more on all these bad boys. I'm just rooting for dingers this summer. So come ride with me at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. I have included all that information in the comments and description of today's video. So shout out to Prize Picks for supporting the Broncos Breakdown. Trade idea number 3. This one's different. Unlike the first 2 that involved Denver moving up, this is actually a trade back. Let me go over the trade first, and then I'll explain. The Detroit Lions have the worst kept secret in the NFL right now. They desperately need a cornerback. And this draft has some good corners, but it's not one of the best cornerback draft classes we have seen. So I could see the Lions, who have the number 29 overall pick, calling the Broncos, going from 29 to 12, and in exchange for Denver moving back all those spots, the Broncos pick up some much-needed day 2 picks in this year's draft. And the Lions, they get to secure the top cornerback of their choice, and they don't have to wait to pick number 29 to get the 3rd or 4th cornerback taken off the board. Denver should absolutely be open to trading back. This team is not just a quarterback away. They've got some bigger holes to fill along with it. So if they can pick up some much-needed draft capital, since they don't have a second-round pick, and they have one third-round pick to make up the entire day 3 draft or day 2 draft arsenal, Denver should look to stockpile some picks if that means moving back a few spots in round number 1. If they were to pull off that trade, the Broncos would have the following day 1 and day 2 picks. They'd have the Lions' first-round pick at number 29. They'd have the Lions' second-round pick at 61. The Lions' third-round pick at 73. And their very own third-round pick at 76. We're talking nearly 4 picks in the top 75 of the draft. Now, that seems like a pretty good haul for a Broncos team that's got some work to do on their roster this offseason. Now, you might be wondering, all right, trade back from 12 to 29. Who are you looking for at pick 29? Because that's a whole different tier of players we have been discussing for the last 2 months or so. Well, how about this guy? We're going to go with Johnny Newton, Jazar Johnny Newton from Illinois. I think he is the best interior defensive lineman in this year's draft class. He had the most pressures of any interior defensive lineman over the last 2 years in college football. The Broncos desperately need to beef up their interior defensive line. They were one of the worst run-stopping units in football last year. Jonathan Harris and Mike Purcell are both free agents. DJ Jones is a cut candidate. I love the idea of, sure, maybe not the sexy pick, maybe not the pick that's ultimately going to move the needle a ton, but a smart and a safe, sound pick in taking an interior defensive lineman to help the trenches out where Denver got bullied last year. Now, would you trade back for more picks? I do think sometimes people are too quick to run to the idea of trade back, get more picks, get more picks. Well, the same logic for trading up applies to trading back. It takes 2 to trade. Now, I definitely think the Lions are going to be interested in trading up to get a corner because they feel like they are a team one piece away. And, I mean, they were just 10 minutes away from going to the Super Bowl last year. So they may feel like it's worth moving on from some day 2 picks to go get the top cornerback in this draft so they can complete an NFC run. Meanwhile, Denver, I like the idea of them getting some more picks for day 2. So let's run through the 3 trades that I made on today's show, or I proposed at least. So this one involves Denver going up to number 3 and selecting, in my eyes, Jayden Daniels, but it could be Drake May if Jayden Daniels goes number 2 overall. But a big haul going to New England, right? First-round pick swap, and then next year's first and second, and then Jerry Jeudy on top of that. And honestly, that's probably a bit on the lighter side. All right, if that's a little bit too rich for you, how about a trade up with the Tennessee Titans who need an offensive lineman in a draft class filled with offensive linemen? So they could move back from 7 to 12, and in exchange, they pick up a third-round pick and a fourth-round pick for the next 2 seasons, and Denver gets to jump the line a little bit and get J.J. McCarthy. Trade number 3, very different than the first 2 trades. We're talking about going back from 12 to 29 and getting a second and a third from the Lions in exchange for it, and then helping to replenish the overall depth chart, which needs help at interior defensive line. Edge rusher, cornerback. Like, this team has some needs to fulfill this offseason, and I don't think they're going to be able to do a whole lot of it in free agency, given Denver is currently $20 million over the salary cap right now. So revisiting these 3 trades, pick a trade for me. Would you go with trade number 1 with the Patriots, trade number 2 with the Tennessee Titans, or trade number 3 with the Detroit Lions? Let me know down below in the comment section which trade you would make if you were Sean Payton. Now, that will do it for us on today's show. Personally, though, I would go with trade number 1. Go get Jayden Daniels, right? I mean, if it's truly an option, and again, may not be an option. We could come out of the combine with the Bears, the Commanders, and the Patriots saying, we love the top 3 quarterbacks. That pick is not for sale. And if that's the case, then this is going to go down as one of those great what-if stories of Denver trying to trade up, but ultimately they could not pull off a deal. But for now, if there is a even slim possibility of getting one of those 3 guys, I think it's worth it. Plus, I did this entire video without even including Patrick Surtain as a trade candidate because he is not on the market, in my opinion. That's going to do it for us, though, on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate those of you that come and check out our content. We're going to sign off, and we will see you all later.